The Playboy Bunny is an icon created by Playboy founder Hugh Hefner as he was conceptualizing his Playboy brand. Though they might have started as glorified waitstaff at one of Hefner's clubs, the women grew into legendary sex symbols that women around the country aspired to be. All of this while being spied on by private detectives and hungry investigative journalists. Today we're going to see what it was like to be a Playboy Bunny in the 1960s. But before we get started, how about you subscribe to the Weird History Club and leave us some whiskey-soaked comments about what pop icons you would like to hear more about. Grrr. All right, straighten up those ears and put on your 3-inch heels. Let's hop into this. Before the iconic uniform with the Playboy Bunny was settled on as the look, men had a lot of opinions about what these ladies would be wearing to their place of work. Hugh Hefner at first advocated for a revealing nightgown, but his business partners had other, less sleek attire ideas in mind. One of his business partners had a girlfriend whose mother was a seamstress. This crafty seamstress created the very first bunny costume, an outfit that can be boiled down to a swimsuit with the bunny signature bunny tails and ears, which had a last-minute Halloween costume vibe. The bunny instruction manual laid out a lot of rules for the bunny uniform and their overall appearance. Uniforms were to be worn proudly and prettily, as opposed to ashamedly and ugly, we're guessing. Wigs were strongly encouraged, as was bright lipstick and manicured nails. Kind of like a clown, but a sexy clown. Bunnies were prohibited from wearing jewelry, except for the signature Playboy cufflinks. The bunny ears were not allowed to be askew or janky, but straight, like real rabbits. Because you know how real rabbits are famously not known for their floppy ears? Bunnies were expected to maintain the high standards of the Playboy uniform on their own dime as well, with maintenance and cleanings coming out of their own little bunny pockets. Unlike 1980s teen-based rom-coms, stuffing your bra was industry standard for Playboy bunnies. The uniform itself left them with little wiggle room. As reported by Vanity Fair, the costume came in two, mostly prescriptive, bust sizes, 34D and 36D. How very considerate to give women a whole 2-inch curve around the chest. Renowned feminist Gloria Steinem, who famously went undercover as a bunny which turned into an explosive expose of the Gentlemen's Club, described the act of stuffing the bunny brassieres as commonplace. From socks to Kleenex to their own cut-up bunny tails, Steinem painted a picture of women frantically grabbing cloth-based items to fill out their large cup sizes where their body could not. So that's where all those missing laundry socks went. Steinem was gifted a plastic dry cleaning bag from her wardrobe mistress as a bra filler, and even claimed her uniform was 2 inches too small everywhere on her body, but for her lady bits. In what surely was the most dangerous job in the world for undercover assignments, Hugh Hefner hired undercover detectives to spy on his bunnies, or what would today probably be adorably referred to as a secret shopper. Detectives were instructed to tempt the bunnies as a test to see if they would accept bribes from good-looking men, on the hunt for a little extra attention. Detectives offered up to $200, the amount personally suggested by Hefner himself, as well as tempting incentives like theater tickets in exchange for a friendly evening, which was probably not a lively debate about The Bachelor over several glasses of a buttery California Chardonnay. Bunnies were a poor target for those well-meaning gentlemen, however, as their own manual warned them. As I've been told, and don't look in my closet, walking in high heels takes discipline and talent, and kind of sucks all at the same time. Thankfully, our girls had instructions written for them on how to cope with the pain associated with walking in the mandatory 3-inch high heels. The manual's tips for surviving a night on heels included rolling their feet over a Coke bottle, mimicking a popular stretching technique used today for treating plantar fasciitis. Bunnies were also forbidden from drinking alcohol while at the Playboy Club, a fairly universally frowned upon thing to do while at most jobs, and they were prohibited from chewing gum. Even the way they smoked cigarettes was regulated. Bunnies had to take one delicate drag at a time and rest the cigarette on an ashtray between puffs, like a smooth lady just hanging out in flavor country. Despite the strict behavioral rules, the Playboy Club provided a relatively safe work environment for the lucky bunnies. As stated by Billy Wilson, Bunny, in 1981, to work for Playboy, they had very strict rules. I liked it because you were constantly protected. People couldn't touch you. Just be sure not to take 2 puffs of cigarette too closely together. Like a poorly behaved child in daycare, bunnies could face little demerits for failing to follow Hugh's strict rules as laid out in the Bunny Manual. As Gloria Steinem reported during her Playboy Bunny cosplay stint, bunnies could receive demerits for things as innocuous as having a scruffy tail or wearing a heel less than 3 inches high. Bunnies could also receive marks for showing up to work in a dirty uniform or for runs in their hosiery. The manual also insisted that the ladies be constantly cheerful with a smile, making it reasonable to assume a gloomy mood or a frown could result in a stern talking to as well. Oh, women do love to be told to smile more. Not just any attractive woman could walk off the street and get a job in the Playboy Club. The Playboy Bunny was a highly coveted position, and the hiring process was pretty choosy. For the grand opening of the club in Chicago, an open audition saw 400 women show up for their chance to don the tail and ears. Though it was open to any woman, the standards were impossibly high. Recruiting material passed out before insisted that a bunny is not a broad or a hippie. She may be sexy, but it's a fresh, healthy sexy, not cheap or lewd. Most actual hippies who were hired were probably working undercover to write explosive exposés. Our hippie undercover agent Steinem also claimed the girls were tested for STDs and subjected to daily weigh-ins after being hired. Hefner couldn't be there every day to ensure that the bunnies were adhering to his draconian beauty standards, so they hired women who were not shy when it came to criticizing one's looks. Your mother. Bunny mothers were present at the Playboy clubs to help manage the girls in all aspects of the job, but mainly they were around to monitor their appearance. Rather than asking if the girls had eaten anything because they looked too skinny, like a well-meaning if not overstepping parent, they said mean things like warning 28-year-olds against looking haggard. One bunny mother allegedly told a 28-year-old woman, "When you start looking wilted, you're through as far as Hef is concerned." Ah, a loving way to tell a woman to please find a way to stop aging. Playboy bunnies could make bank, but the ease in which the money poured in was often overhyped by Playboy. Playboy advertised a cool $200 to $300 a week as the average salary of a bunny, but that didn't take into account the tips taken out by the club itself or additional costs of maintaining uniforms. Since they bankrolled these expenses themselves, both took pretty sizable chunks out of their take-home pay. The ladies did have a chance to earn a little extra coin on the side, however, through working in private clubs, taking on extra shifts or assisting management at their Playboy club. Just as easily, however, pay could be docked by something as dumb as having a dirty locker or a less than perfectly clean cottontail. Anything that shattered the Playboy illusion could result in the bunnies getting their wages docked. But these bunnies, by their own accounts, could kill it in the tip department. Bunnies could wander the club with a Polaroid camera and cigarettes for a nickel, charging for that sweet, sweet nicotine and documentation of an evening well-lived with gorgeous women. They were notorious for putting the cheapskates on blast, calling out any frugal-minded patron who dared to ask the paying rate, since they were expected to offer much more, as if the price was more of a starting suggestion. With the Playboy Club's patrons consisting of deep pockets from mafia members and celebrities, the girls managed to do okay despite the frugality of the club itself. Gloria Steinem reported being told exactly which patrons she could and could not date. An essential class system was created within the ranks of the Playboy Club clientele. Key holders, the 1% of the membership club, were the only men women had permission to date. These fancy gentlemen mostly consisted conveniently of Playboy executives or anybody Hugh Hefner or his company may want to impress. What better way to impress someone than to provide them with a very pretty girlfriend? This group of men were also referred to as C1s. Women who didn't abide by this rule and dared to date below a C1 keyholder were in jeopardy of being fired on the spot. Part of the fantasy Hefner was crafting with his mysterious club was an air of unattainability. Mingling with the lower echelon of customers was also seen as a potential legal issue, since Hefner felt the optics of a bunny mingling with a regular client could open up accusations of the club operating illegally. Although it sounds elitist and a little sexist, it actually helped in achieving a safe work environment for the girls. Former bunny Pat Lacey recalled, the type of gentlemen who purchased keys were professional businessmen. They had intelligence and could control themselves, or at least throw money at the problem when they didn't. Not satisfied with just a land-based club, Hefner set his sights on creating a Playboy club in the sky. In the late 1960s, Hef bought a private plane at the bargain basement price of $5.5 million, or a reasonable $34 million today when adjusted for inflation. The plane, creatively called Big Bunny, was outfitted with women called Jet Bunnies that helped turn the plane into more of a club-like atmosphere, which is obviously severely lacking in today's modern air travel. Jet Bunnies were former employees of the New York and Chicago Playboy clubs and received additional training from Continental Airlines as flight attendants. As for their outfit, it was a little more cover than the famous Playboy Bunny uniform. Jet Bunnies wore black dresses with black boots, aviation scarves, and, of course, the infamous bunny ears and cottontail. Their outfits were meant to complement the all-black exterior of the Big Bunny. The plane interior also had a light to reflect the signature Playboy logo inside, lest you forget whose plane this was. All of these restrictions and emphasis on appearances were part of Hef's plan to rebrand the idea of a sophisticated escort service away from its more tawdry reputation, first with his Playboy magazine and then transitioning to his clubs. Catherine Leigh Scott, a bunny at the New York club from 1963 to 1966, would later reflect, "It was sort of a primer for young men, giving them advice on what hi-fi equipment to buy, how to take a girl out for dinner, or order in a restaurant, which is what young men would tell their moms and girlfriends when reading Playboy. I read it for the latest in hi-fi equipment and articles, not for the pictures." So what do you think? Are you more of a Hefner or a Steinem? Let us know in our comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.